Hello, everyone. How are all my darlings doing? I am so glad you all could be here. I'm so glad that we could all have this little conversation because I feel like we need to take a moment off of the two grifters that are Harry and Meghan and talk about the OG grifters of the royal family being Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. Hello, everyone. So glad to see you all here. So glad you all could make time on your day to be here and join me. To those that are watching this on the replay later, so glad you guys could make it and watch as well while you're doing your cleaning and whatnot. But guys, we need to talk about this. We need to have a serious conversation about this because I feel like I've said this before. And with Andrew LOWNIE's recent book that he has released called, what is it called? What is it called? Oh dear. Oh dear. Called Entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. Andrew LOWNIE is a well-researched British historian and author, and he is someone that, like Tom Bower, I have a great amount of respect for because they do their research and they get right to the sauce. Like they get right to the point. They don't put any extra shenanigans, exaggerations, or anything like that. They just give us the facts. And that is what I love about Tom Bower. That's what I love about Andrew LOWNIE, because from the very beginning, you see that they don't have no skin in this fight. With other biographers that have written about Harry and Meghan, you can always tell that they are, slanted. Tina Brown is a good one that I enjoyed, but you know what? At the very beginning, she was very like, oh, Team Meghan Markle. And well, when that wasn't making enough clicks for her, I guess now she's turned into like, I'm going to spill her secrets, but she's telling us nothing that we already don't know. You ordered it for the Kindle, it comes out on the 14th. See, the thing is that I was thinking about ordering it on audiobooks, but I don't like someone reading it to me. I'd rather read it myself, right? So I can go over and really like absorb what there is. And I like having a book in front of me where I can tag, where I can note and like put like little reminders to myself. So I'm definitely waiting for the 14th for it to come out. That is a book that I have no money. Like, take my money. Take it. I will definitely be purchasing this book because, yeah, I want to know. Like I said, the royal family have a big issue on their hands, and this is a reason why Harry and Meghan are getting away with a lot of their own shenanigans. When you find out that Andrew used his position, his role in the Foreign Office, right, to meet corrupt leaders, you figure that, look, Harry and Meghan are just doing the same thing, but stateside. It's very much the same game plan. And I hate to say it because as much as you guys know I admire Queen Elizabeth. I have nothing but utmost respect for Queen Elizabeth. But we all have to, at some point, ask the tough question and really say, well, why didn't the Queen put her foot down? Because, the Queen would have known that Andrew was doing all these shady dealings and going to Bahrain and going to the Middle East and meeting up with all these Saudis all the time. She must have known. Like, she could have put her foot down at any point. And it is just like how Charles is coddling Harry. It's like the Queen did the same with Andrew. And I feel like Harry and Andrew are cut from the same sleazy cloth. Andrew and Harry have always been, I know how people like to say, or the UK media like to claim that, look, Harry and Andrew were the Queen's favorites. And I've been saying this for quite a while, and I'll repeat it again. I have no problem saying this again because I never believed the Queen thought of Prince Andrew and Prince Harry as her favorites. The Queen knew that Harry and Andrew are complete idiots who could destroy the royal family due to their shady dealings and friendships, and that is why the Queen kept them close. That is my belief. That is my opinion of them. Now, why I will never understand why the Queen never put her foot down when it came to Andrew, when it came to even Harry, because you were the monarch at the time. You were supposed to be leading by example, which is why Charles is now not doing anything. Charles is acting like a scared turtle, basically leaving the mess for when William ascends to the throne, which is completely not right at all. Kipper14, thank you, my darling, so much. You say you're spot on, Molly. And I know that I'm going to be like saying some things that are going to be hurting some individuals, but it's the truth. The Queen, as much as I respect her for being a trailblazer, for having the legacy that she did, for all of the prime ministers and premiers and dignitaries and heads of states that she met, she couldn't control her own her son, Andrew. Edward was a different story, but Edward didn't do the sleazy things that Andrew did. And the thing is that Andrew had a good chance after he was done with the Falklands War because he was a decorated pilot. He pulled off a stunt that could have ended his life, that saved many others, and basically he screwed it all up by hanging out with the wrong ones. So what Andrew LOWNIE did is that Andrew LOWNIE has been working on this biography of the York family. Biography, I think it would be expose, really. But basically, what has happened is that the DailyMail has been serializing it, and not many YouTubers have been talking about it. Many have been focused on the fact that Harry allegedly gave, or as Mr. LOWNIE wrote in his book, that Harry gave Andrew quite the black eye during a family event or at a family dinner, something like that, at a private family evening. But the only photo that I could find of Andrew with a black eye was when he was at the Countess of Burma's memorial in 2017. Let me pull it up here. Prince Andrew, black eye. Prince Andrew and his black eye was at here. Let me show you. Oh, sorry about that. Harry was quick to clap back. He definitely was, which is crazy because Harry let the whole nonsense about, William and Catherine and the royal family be racist to go along. But, with Andrew, they were quick to claim, no, it never happened. But here you see that, oh dear. Whoops, wrong page. You see that it says that the prince looked solemn during he joined the mourners at Knightsbridge for the countess's funeral today. And this was for the Countess of Burma's funeral in 2017. He had quite the shiner. I'd like to think that he got into some shit and maybe the Queen gave him a good old smacking in the face with her handbag there. That's what I'd like to think sometimes. But let me read to you what it was written in the latest serialization, which is what we need to be focused on, because you realize just why, because this was like a light bulb moment for me. Why all these times I've been questioning, like, why doesn't Charles do something? Because, well, look, Andrew is the same way. And a part of me, to be honest, I feel like Charles has some skeletons in his closet too from accepting money from those he shouldn't have. Remember, there was that scandal with him not too long ago, and that gentleman and the bag full of cash for honors. Yeah. Andrew said, I hope you enjoy my sloppy seconds. Oh, yeah. We're going to have to get into that because I want to really dig into the fact that Meghan Markle was brought up to be a witness in Virginia Giuffre's case, and that wouldn't be brought up for no reason. And a lot of people do believe that there is history before, Meghan had met Harry. And there are some instances when I have seen photographs that I have caught wind of. You see the way Meghan is looking at Prince Andrew. I don't know. Are you reminiscing about something here? That looks like the look of like I remember that time when you stuck it in my cornhole and it felt great. Now, that's just my opinion, but that's just the vibes that I get. That's all. Just the vibes that I get. Christine and Katie, yeah, our mods here are incredible. I love our mods that we have here, and I appreciate them. Like, you have no idea the love that I have for my mods in our community here. I love it. I have been listening. I'm cooking dinner. Well, I hope you enjoy cooking your dinner, darling Denise. But yes, this is the vibes that I get from like Meghan and Andrew. There is another photo, the one that I have been messy and decided to use as my avatar here, because when you look at a photo like this is a look that you get. Like, we know. We definitely know. You guys know that song, She Knows, by J. Cole. She knows. Yeah, she knows. Oh, yeah, she knows. She knows. Yep. Something went on because he knows her. She knows him. There's a trifecta going on here. It is very like, you better not talk about what we did, or he better not talk about what we did. But this is a look like these two know each other. I'm not a body language expert, but these two definitely know each other. They must have done something. And there is a good reason why Harry was warned by all his friends to not rush into getting married with Meghan Markle. But besides that, I wanted to move on to the fraudulent lifestyle of Andrew, because I feel like this is the way that Harry and Meghan are going as well, by using, how they were using their positions as being members of the royal family, which they still are. And I will always say that Harry and Meghan are members of the royal family as long as they are still on the royal family website. Then they will be still considered working royals. So, of course, they use their position as members of the royal family. Ow! And basically, what they have done is siphon millions upon millions of dollars through Archewell into their multiple Delaware accounts. I'm okay. I'm just adjusting my desk here. That's all. I changed the size and I'm still like banging myself. I wanted to sit cross-legged at my desk with my back straight, so that's why. That's all. I'm good, guys. Thank you. But let me read this to you, because Andrew LOWNIE's excerpts have been amazing. And it's very telling, because I feel like I thought she fell. No, I'm not that special yet. I'm not that special yet. I'm not falling over yet. Banging around. Then, you know what? And then I always wonder, how do I end up with these random bruises, right? It's always like I accidentally shoulder check myself into the wall. I'll knock my knee into the table. I'll just dumb things. But let me read this to you guys, because this excerpt gives me a clue, gives me an idea of basically how Harry and Meghan are, shadowing Andrew and Fergie. And to my mods, just to let you know, I did put the DailyMail Plus link in the bottom below, but I know it's paywalled for people who aren't signed up. So right underneath it, I have the archived link also for people who want to read it, just to let you know. Thank you, Stephen. Maybe Andrew's daughters had dirt on Meghan. Of course they would have dirt on Meghan. Of course. I'm supposed to believe Harry wrote in Spare that Meghan, when she met Andrew, despite knowing Eugenie and being friends with her, thought that Andrew was the Queen's bag handler. Like, get out of here. Go away. That is like, that just shows you how stupid Harry is and how easy it was for Meghan to manipulate him. So let me read this to you guys here. It says, revealed how Andrew acquired his secret millions. His buffoon highness used his foreign office role to cozy up to corrupt leaders and gun smugglers and to boost his own wealth with trips all funded by the taxpayers. Who does that remind you of right there? That reminds me of Harry and Meghan using their position to get people to fund them, to get in bed with Gavin Newsom and so on, and to still be funded by taxpayers. Personally, myself, I think Harry and Meghan could have something to do, and this is just my opinion, don't come at me, could have something to do with trafficking and things like that, but that's going to be a story for another day when I get more information. But let me read this to you guys. So it says, it remains a mystery how Prince Andrew has been able to enjoy such an extravagant lifestyle. So they have been doing like multiple days of the serialization, the exclusive serialization of Andrew LOWNIE's book before it gets released in the Daily Mails. And this is the 4th day. So the day before, they were talking about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and his sexual proclivities and his hedonistic life. And I thought I would save you guys from that so we don't throw up all over the place and not talk about that part of Andrew's life in the afternoon, midday for some, dinner time for some of you. So yes, I will allow you guys to all keep an appetite because I'm sure we all want to eat later. So let me read this to you guys. It remains a mystery how Prince Andrew has been able to enjoy such an extravagant lifestyle. He travels by private jet and has a collection of expensive cars, including a 220,000-pound Bentley and a brand new 80,000-pound Range Rover. He lives in a 30-bedroom royal lodge in Windsor Great Park, on which he spent £7.5 million refurbishing, painting it white from pink, and adding a swimming pool, driving range, and golf course, and which has annual running costs of £250,000. And yet he has no obvious source of income beyond his Royal Navy pension, family money, which he may have inherited, and handouts, first from Queen Elizabeth and now King Charles. An acquaintance compared him to a hot air balloon. He seems to float in very rarefied circles without any visible means of support, yet he is believed to make substantial sums from commercial activities that go under the radar, a description he himself has been known to endorse for his money-making. When a business contract suggested this way of working so the prince could act without much accountability, Andrew responded, I like your thinking. So Andrew, in my opinion, is as stupid as Harry in the way that he likes to put his foot in his mouth, that he says the quiet part out loud that he's not supposed to. And remember, Andrew and Fergie are currently living in Royal Lodge. Have you heard of a divorced royal woman still living on royal grounds, obviously living off of royal funds? How does that work? How does that work? Hi, Christy. Welcome. Welcome, everyone who is coming. We are today talking about Randy Andy and how he has been exploiting and is basically, him and Sarah Ferguson were the original grifters of the royal family, and Harry and Meghan are just the Yorks 2.0. They are the new version where we see that the Queen didn't do anything to rein this in. And now Andrew is doing the same thing where he isn't reining it in also. European world traveler, I have asked this question multiple times. Maybe Charles is plotting to be the last king. Maybe he's hoping to destroy the public's trust within the monarchy. I personally believe that Harry and Meghan are going to drop the whole surrogate child bombshell when William becomes king. to make the public have less trust in the monarchy, to destroy his reputation, because that's what they've been doing. That's what they will do. They will do anything to harm William and Catherine. Leslie says, yes, all the Yorks are shady. I agree with you. The fact that Beatrice and Eugenie are constantly over in the Middle East and Bahrain and Qatar and everything, of course, it's very, very shady. But they're learning the tricks from their parents, of course. That's just my opinion again. Let's go here. And yet he has no obvious, oh, I read that already. Yet he is believed to make substantial sums from commercial activities that go under the radar. And then Andrew responded, I like your thinking. An investigation by the Mail on Sunday concluded that Andrew had leveraged his status and wealthy contacts made during the course of an official work on behalf of British taxpayers to act as a facilitator, helping businessmen set up lucrative deals all over the world. From early on, he has been very keen on accruing his own fortune. No wonder him and Meghan got along. Don't you think so? The ding-dongs for sure. The ding-dongs for sure. I agree. Meghan is the same way. She likes to accrue money. Despite him being a royal member, he thought that he should have access to lots of money. And this is very, very, yeah. When you're hanging out with these types, there is something going on. At school, at Groundstone, contemporaries noticed how impressed he appeared with the extreme wealth he encountered amongst other pupils, and he seemed willing to pursue it even if it made him vulnerable. So from the very beginning, he was a little prick. He was the same as Prince Harry, where he was always looking at other people's pockets. I call it pocket watching. It's the worst thing you could do, but it appears like being a royal isn't enough for Harry and Andrew, where they want to get in with, they don't care. As long as you got some money, as long as you'll bankroll them and they can be leeches off society and use their titles, then go ahead. Harry and Andrew are the same, where they are two leeches for sure. Lisbeth says, B is okay. She was always very loyal to the Queen. Her hubby is a billionaire. He would be the only one dealing with Bahrain. She's along for the trips and to babysit. And we don't know that, right? Because even as recently, we've seen Beatrice take her own trips over to the Middle East. So I don't know. The Yorks, I side eye all of them. And even if with Edo being a quote unquote billionaire, like him and his family have a massive villa. I mean, I don't understand. Being a count would be higher than what she is, a princess, is it not? I think. But anyways, let me continue on here so we're not dragging it out here. So on an official, here, where am I? Tim Riley, vice president of the international financial advisory firm Kroll, was with Andrew in Russia in his days as a trade envoy. On an official Kremlin museums tour, he was angling to be given a Fabergé egg. Even the Russians were stunned by his undisguised avarice. Riley reckons Putin could finish Andrew and the royal family anytime he likes with photos, tales, and evidence he no doubt has on Andrew in Russia. It was in that role as Britain's special representative for international trade and investments, which he took up in September 2001, that multiple opportunities presented themselves to the prince. The job came this way after his Royal Navy career grounded to a halt. After success as a helicopter pilot in the Falklands War, he had his first command captaining a 60-meter minesweeper carrying out fishery protection duties. The obvious next step should have been command of a frigate, but the feeling was that Andrew had neither the capabilities or abilities nor the desire to take this path. He was tipped as second in command of the warship HMS Cumberland, commanded by his brother-in-law, Captain Tim Lawrence, Princess Anne's husband, but the expected move never happened. Passed over for promotion to commander 3 times, He was told by the First Sea Lord Admiral Jock Slater that he had no future in the senior service, and it was announced that Andrew would leave the Navy in 1999 after 20 years. So just like Harry, he was a complete dunce. No use for him. He was the type that thought that he should have been in a higher position, should have just been given that spot just because of who he was. Harry is the same exact way. Part of the problem, it was claimed, was his lack of a university degree and that he had no aptitude for maths. But a senior officer put his failures to make progress down to a lack of application and a lack of attention to fulfilling his duties properly. Doesn't that remind you of the art teacher who did Harry's test for him and passed him? Art, right? Failures, two complete dunces. Both of them dunces, but they were coddled. And that's the issue. They were both coddled. And that's why they are now the way they are. Harry is going to be just like Andrew, where they are going to be, two complete dunces, thought that they married the best women ever, and, well, really married a mess, to be honest. Let me continue on here. In the event the prince would stay much longer in the service than intended, a job was found for him in the Directorate of Naval Operations at the Ministry of Defense, and he was promoted to commander, probably at the instigation of Charles, who talked to a few admirals about finding a role for his brother. The suspicion was that the royal family was keen to keep Andrew within the structure and discipline of the Royal Navy. There was mutterings of preferential treatment, however, from fellow officers. One said, everyone knows he only got this job because it is a swan about and it will enable him to travel the world shaking hands and playing golf, as if it's to prove a point. On his second day in the post, the prince was playing 18 holes at an inter-forces tournament. Andrew's eventual leaving in July 2001 was marked by an interview by the MOD's in-house journal in which he claimed to be worn out from working 14-hour days. I was doing too much. This caused a chuckle among colleagues given that he was always here and leaves with the rest of us at 6 p.m. A newspaper pointed out in the previous month he had a fortnight in the Bahamas with his ex-wife and daughters, a weekend in Portugal golfing, 3 days in Spain at a charity golf match, and 3 days in New York with Ghislaine Maxwell. He had stayed on in Miami at Jeffrey Epstein's beach house rather than return for Eugenie's 11th birthday party at Disneyland Paris. Priorities, Randy Andy? MeghansMole, the article isn't on the screen. Yeah, I put Harry and Andrew in the screen instead because I thought it's very telling how they are very similar. Andrew is a bit more intelligent in the way that he knows to shut up and not to piss where his territory is and not to bite the hand that feeds him, basically. That's what I'm saying. Don't apologize, Katie. You didn't know. Don't worry. Thank you, my darling. Thank you. Andrew captained as a minesweeper at sea. You don't get that high on an art degree. Harry, I agree, is a total failure, but you're too dismissive in your comparison. Am I being too tough? I just feel at this point like we're coddling grown men at this point. Like these two men should have been handled and dealt with at a young age. You are not going to change how a 60-year-old man is going to live his life and how Harry at 40 is going to live. That's what I'm saying. I'm just... It's all good. I don't mind you guys like having constructive criticism and us not agreeing. I don't mind at all. 100%, my darlings. That's what we do as adults. We don't always agree on certain topics, and on certain topics we tend to disagree. But the thing is that here in this community, you're not going to get kicked out for it. You're not going to get harassed for it. You're not going to change anyone. Like, don't worry. Like I just said that, Lizbeth, you're not going to change a 40-year-old either. Exactly. You're not going to change them. The change should have been made when the signs were there, when Andrew was at school. The signs were there that he was clearly taken by people who had a higher amount of wealth than him. Dude, you're a prince. You're like higher up than all of them. It's absolutely ridiculous. So basically, Andrew's job allowed him to take secret holidays to Bahrain, to fly to I'm looking at the wrong, oops. I was looking at the wrong article here, because I've got another article about when Andrew took a private trip to Bahrain on a Swiss billionaire's jet. And it just reminds me of, Harry and Meghan again, just having their hand out, being a couple leeches. Let's face it, both of them are pretty dumb. They are dumb. It's true. And a leopard doesn't change their spots. You're right. Harry and Andrew are the classic spares who throughout history have ended up headless or in the tower. You do have a point there. But here they ended up coddled and not being really taught right from wrong. Andrew's always been a bit of a handsy degenerate, but so is Harry. Look at this, for instance.
Okay. I don't like him today.
This is like, I look at this and I see Harry and Meghan.
You're not in an interview.
Thank you very much. You've done it again. What? Used my name.
Andrew, you're not in an interview.
Thank you very much. You've done it again. What? Used my name. You're a monster. Oh, God, don't fall over the top of the wall. You're a monster.
I'm sorry. Does this, Andrew giving Fergie a old slap on the face in front of everyone? Now, I'm sorry, but if Andrew acts like this in public, could you imagine how handsy and crazy he must get behind closed doors? No, wait, don't imagine that, because we don't want to picture that. Maybe Andrew slaps around his teddy bears. I don't know, but yeah, this... Andrew would have been better off with Koo Stark. They loved each other and she has her head screwed on right. Yeah, well, that got screwed elsewhere. No wonder she took her toes elsewhere. Yeah, that's for sure. Slapper. He definitely is a slapper. I bet you he's the type that likes to choke a chick too. He definitely comes across as the type. But this, do we not, I see Harry in him. I'm sorry, when I look at Andrew and Fergie's relationship, I get Harry and Meghan. The way that they behave all stupid like this. It's not cute. Where are you? I'm going to take your nose. I'm going to take your nose now. Oh, got your nose.
Use my name.
Oh, goodness. I don't like him today doing that, smacking my bottom. There's nothing wrong with bears. My dead mother had 200 bears. Stephen, there's nothing wrong with bears at all, but your mother is a female, and for a man to have 200 bears, it is a little bit strange. I'm just saying, but I love this video the first time you saw it. You guys are hilarious. So let me continue on. So basically, Andrew, after he was stripped of his positions, after the Queen stripped him of his military positions, he took a new role as a special representative in 2001 September, succeeding the Duke of Kent, who held post since 1976. The job was unpaid, but he received a stipend of £249,000 per year from his mother, who approved the appointment. He was entitled to claim expenses. Andrew would be directed by ministers. His assistant private secretary with trade experience was second from the Foreign Office to support him. Let me pull this up here. Andy has 200 bears. No, I don't know how many bears Andy had, but I think Stephen was saying that his deceased mother, rest in peace, had over 200 teddy bears. He was mentioning that. It says here that Andrew would be directed by ministers. An assistant private secretary with trade experience was second from the Foreign Office to support him. Senior Foreign Office sources declared that he would be kept on a tight rein to ensure he had no opportunities to let his personal interests interfere with his official duties as the figurehead of the export industry. There is no way that we will let British trade policy be determined by the location of the world's best golf courses. It was claimed that Prince Charles tried to block Andrew's new role as a disaster waiting to happen. A palace source said that the Prince of Wales was extremely concerned that Andrew won't be able to resist the temptation of mixing business with pleasure. Well, if he had these issues, then why not do something about it then? I don't understand. I don't get it. If you see that he is a walking red flag, then why not do something about it? Now, here was Andrew in 2004 visiting the 170 million pound circuit being built in Shanghai for China's first Grand Prix. Why did Andrew need to be there? Who knows, but he got paid. Then golfing was his thing. One of Andrew's first trips as a special representative to Bahrain, where the main item on the agenda was sale of British-made Hawk aircraft. But to everyone's astonishment, Andrew ignored his official brief and suggested to King Hamad, ruler of the Gulf state, that he'd be better off leasing them rather than buying them. It was not helpful to UK interests and led Andrew to being known amongst British diplomatic community as His Buffoon Highness. A diplomat said he frequently refused to follow his brief. He wondered if he had actually read it, and we wondered if he had actually read it and appeared to regard himself as an expert in every matter. Sounds just like Harry, doesn't it? Another idiot who thinks that he knows everything. He would ignore all advice and plunge straight in. During meetings with Gulf royals, he would use the opportunity to hawk around Sunninghill Park, the York's family home back in the UK, up for sale in the aftermath of his divorce. Whenever possible, he would use his official role to indulge other activities. A trade visit to Saudi Arabia was combined with a visit to the Bahrain Grand Prix, where he was joined by family members. A few days later, he was at the Masters Golf Tournament in Georgia, paid for by the sport's ruling body. He then undertook a 5-day trip to China, the first senior member of the royal family since the Queen's visit since 1986, mainly at the request of British oil and gas companies, but also to see the 170 million pound circuit being built in Shanghai for China's first Grand Prix. F1 Supremo Bernie Ecclestone was keen to embrace China, and Andrew was his point man, according to one expert who helped close the deal. So once again, Andrew is a putz, a complete putz, where he basically allowed others to use him, his royal connections, his royal titles, the fact that he was a royal, to, be wined and dined and go to these ultra luxurious places and not pay for anything. He is nothing but a criminal, says Babsy Babe. Yeah, I don't like, it's not a good look. And the Queen I'm supposed to believe that the Queen didn't know about all of this going on. She should have done something about it. I know that's going to upset some people that I'm saying that, but as the monarch, you would have known that your son was being shady. You should have done something. That's just my opinion. I'm just saying. I can see your guys' comments. I'm just on another page reading the article, so I'm reading your comments through my device and it's not on the actual screen that I'm on. Just letting you guys know, okay? I will take your questions and everything afterwards. They didn't tell her, Molly. I know they didn't tell her, but as queen, you would think the advisors would be talking in whispers about it, right? There would be talk about it within the palace households. I'm sure it would have gotten around. That's just my opinion. I'm like, you're the queen, you're the head monarch. You're supposed to I don't know. I don't want to say much because I don't want people to get upset. But then also seeing Charles do this, it's like, well, he's kind of following what the queen did with Andrew. She just basically shoved it under the rug, basically. The problem she turned a blind eye to. So it says a diplomat organizing the visit remembered how Andrew, with a large retinue, insisted on staying in the presidential suite of a five-star hotel. He held a lavish and unnecessary planning breakfast each day in his suite, yet he did not seem to have been briefed or have any interest in being briefed. When Andrew had taken on his trade role, his brother Charles had described it as a job needing tact and discretion. These, though, were not Andrew's strong points. When he couldn't be bothered to engage, he was openly rude, such as on an official trip to Brazil, where he opened the Prince Andrew Theatre, which housed the British Consulate General, the British Council, a library, and exhibition galleries. Ushered to a seat in the front row, he sat stony-faced and refused to address a word to the dignitaries on either side of him. When a local band played Beatles songs, he sneered that they should stick to Brazilian music. At a reception later, as eminent Brazilians waited to be presented to him, he simply turned on his heels and headed for the exit, with the British ambassador running after him, trying to call the cars and alert security. Who does that remind you of again? I'm just saying they're very similar. I mean, Harry and Meghan are Andrew and Fergie 2.0. That's it's looking very much like that. And why let a mistake repeat itself? Why let history of bad behavior continue on and repeat itself and not do anything about it? It seemed that, as was noted on numerous occasions, if something was boring or did not interest him, he would brush it aside without a thought or how it may upset people. But for all the criticism, and there was plenty of it, Andrew also had his supporters. His office claimed that out of his 446 royal engagements in 2006, 293 were business related, that companies were keen to use him. Well, yeah, we're sure that you're probably getting a cut under the table. He helped us win £500 million in business in the last few years, said the chief executive of an engineering firm, mostly in orders for naval ships. A journalist who accompanied Andrew on a trip to Kazakhstan was equally impressed. He was able to get you access you don't get with an ordinary person to the president, to business leaders, to oil fields, but Andrew was also conducting business of his own. In 2007, he finally managed to sell Sunninghill, which the Queen had given as a wedding gift to her son and had been on the market for 5 years. The sale was negotiated by a wealthy Kazakh businessman. So the buyer, it emerged 3 years later, was Timur Kulibayev, a billionaire oil and gas tycoon and son-in-law of the then president of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev, who Andrew knew from his countless official and private visits to the country, and most recently when he had gone goose shooting with him. There was some surprise that Kublyayev had paid £3 million more than the £12 million asking price, though there had been no other bids. There were suspicions that there might have been more behind the transaction. Buckingham Palace was quick to put out any denial of improper God, here comes the ESL and it can't kick in sometimes. Improperty. I don't know why sometimes I can't just pronounce some words. Improperty to suggest the Duke had personally benefited from his public work in Kazakhstan is utterly untrue. You're doing great, Mole. Thanks, guys. Sometimes I get comments of people making fun of my English, but I'm like, go away. But thanks, you guys. I love this support. Let me continue on here because this is gross. And the amount of, fraud, basically, fraudulent behavior, craziness that Andrew has done. Like, it is wild. It is absolutely wild to me. There's some surprise. No, I already read that. But another of Nazarbayev's son-in-laws, Rakat Aliyev, later claimed the house deal had been a sweetener. When it is necessary to get some information or any other business of the presidents in the UK, Prince Andrew could be asked to do something or to clarify or to know something. So he was a rat. So they were using Andrew as a rat, basically. Interesting. The Duke went on to act as a fixer for his foreign consortium that wanted to build water and sewage networks in Kazakhstan. His commission was £3.83 million. A woman who knew him there said Andrew loved Kazakhstan because he could do whatever he wanted without the media scrutiny. Red flag right there. Hello? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? You could do whatever you. What are you doing that you wouldn't want media scrutiny? What kind of shady dealings are you doing that you know is wrong, that you are going out there so you can hide? It says a lot. He did a lot of business deals in the oil and gas industry. He made a fortune, and he didn't have to invest a penny. President Nazarbayev loved the prestige of including the prince in major business deals. It was a win-win for both parties. So pay for play. Basically, hire me out. I'm a prince and I'll come and you can get like the glitter of the British royal family sprinkled upon you. But back in London, Andrew's penchant for keeping the company of foreign billionaires whose business activities were not always transparent and who might use him as a trophy asset to impress others was increasing concern. In November 2008, he took a 4-day holiday in Tunisia, paid for by Tarek Katini, a convicted Libyan gun smuggler who Andrew had first met in 2005. He then went on to visit Colonel Gaddafi in Libya, his third visit to Gaddafi in 7 months, none of them arranged by UK trade investment, though the Duke has always accompanied by protection officers paid for by the taxpayer. Andrew had also become friendly with Saif Gaddafi, the 35-year-old second son of the dictator, who acted as his father's fixer and whom Andrew was to meet 3 times between August 2008 and March 2009. Andrew returned to Libya, a country with huge gas and oil fields, on a week's private visit, traveling with only his bodyguard, ostensibly as a tourist looking at archaeological treasures, not a subject in which he had previously shown great interest. He was seen to be becoming perilously close to Imam Aliyev, the authoritarian and corrupt president of Azerbaijan, the country in the Caucasus whose regime was accused of torturing protesters, rigging elections, and throwing political opponents in jail. Local media suggested the Duke had his own business interests in the country, including a golf complex on the shores of the Caspian Sea. Through Aliyev, Andrew met one of the country's leading oligarchs, Jahangir Askarov, who ran Azerbaijan Airlines. Askarov was supposedly trying to gain a foothold in Britain, and Andrew was said to be advising him he was becoming a key business contact for the Duke. I'm sorry, this is sick. This is disgusting, isn't it? This is absolute hard time. I have a hard time pronouncing that too. I mean, this is a lot of, it sounds very African Parks. It does, doesn't it? Andrew also ran that scam called Pitch at the Palace. Remember that? There is so much, and yet they made it seem like Fergie was the one who was the bad egg of the family. Like she was the black sheep who was doing, yes, Fergie did her dirt also, but not to the extent that Andrew was doing his dirt. Let me continue on. I'm almost done here. Though Andrew had a series of meetings to promote British trade, one of the country's leading independent journalists spoke to many when he said, "We just do not understand exactly what it is Andrew does or why he needs to come here so often. It is indeed difficult to establish the complete story of Andrew's activities in the Central Asian Republic, as people are scared to talk because of his connections to its powerful elite. But it is not just what he was up to in Azerbaijan that is being queried. A former British ambassador to Tunisia wrote to the foreign secretary asking for Andrew to be sacked because he was hobnobbing with dodgy Arab businessmen doing serious damage to the royal family and Britain's political, diplomatic, and commercial interests. There was further unease when it became known that the Libyan businessman Tarek Khatuni was a guest at Princess Beatrice's 21st birthday party, at which he had given her an 18,000-pound diamond necklace, had boasted that he could influence the senior royal to support certain commercial projects. What has also caused consternation was that his office as trade representative appeared to be staffed by his own royal employees, with just a single foreign office official, and yet his expenses were covered by UK trade and industry, while other government departments picked up travel, staffing, security, and other bills. There was a reticence through in Whitehall to explain and justify what he actually did. One of the problems was that his role and the governance of it was never particularly clear. Who was he supposed to report to? There were concerns about who he was seeing, said a diplomat, and that he had a freelance business career with a parallel agenda fixing meetings with people who were not part of his mission. But no one in authority would confront him for fear of being accused of an attack on a member of the royal family. So whenever there was an issue, it was tended to be quietly dropped. Increasingly, the Duke, with his own agenda in mind, took it upon himself to decide which countries he should visit. Increasingly, much of his time was spent in the Middle East, where, as a spokesman explained, potentiates like meeting princes. As the son of the queen, he opens doors. He can raise problems with a crown prince, and 4 or 5 weeks later, the difficulties have been overcome and a contract can be signed. This is disgusting. I can't. Bleh. Kimberly says, appreciate all your excellent work keeping us all up to date on all royal news. We got to thank you, Kimberly. That's very sweet of you. I appreciate you. I feel like we got to give the full credit here to Andrew LOWNIE, who spent the last 4 years doing all of this digging to find out what exactly is Andrew doing. And those old enough will also remember that Harry was being positioned as the playboy, fun-loving prince too, right? A lot of times, and Fergie wasn't such a great egg either, but they definitely used Fergie as a scapegoat to hide Andrew's shenanigans and to cover up for him, which is why he is still an entitled brat, which is why he is still acting the way he is acting at his big old age in his 60s. He had shady deals everywhere. And why was it never put to rest? Why did the queen never put her foot down? And it honestly makes you wonder, this is exactly what Charles is doing with Harry and Meghan too, letting them run amok, make connections with shady individuals, right? Make shady deals with people, hang out with oligarchs also, use their homes, and just another mess being left for Prince William. Look, I didn't know Harry beat up ladies yeah, I remember I did a video about that and we spoke about that too. And I think you were there too, Stephen. Yeah, we read all about that. And Harry even mentioned in Spare that he was taken off base when there would be, drug tests being done. He would be, magically swooped off of base, taken off so that he wouldn't have to do any of the drug tests. Of course he didn't, because he was constantly snorting with his schnozzles. Every family has someone playing the role. They truly do. Lizbeth says, yeah, but Andy was kind to the queen and loves the monarchy. Harry is a total traitor. Well, don't you think that Andrew is a traitor also with all of his shady dealings? Why would you put the queen in that position? Why would you put the monarchy in that position where someone like Putin could have intel on you and secrets about you? I feel like they're both traitors. I feel like both Andrew and Harry are two idiots who cannot discern having good friends and bad friends. And I think there's a post that I have put many years back. Hold on. And I think I just shared it again on my Twitter page. Let me find it here. And you guys, I got to run here. But let me finish off with this because, you know, mommy duty calls and I got to get going. I didn't think I'd be here for that long and my computer is about to die. Let me see. So here, back in 2004, I wrote that if you think Prince Andrew was the only one being protected, just wait till you see how much the royal family covered up Harry's degenerate behavior. We've heard about the groping, the sexual abuse, and battery of prostitutes. At the end of the day, it's my opinion that Harry and Andrew are cut from the same cloth. And sadly, the queen didn't put up with it. The queen didn't do something about it. And the same thing is being repeated where Charles is not dealing with it either. 100%. I have heard Fergie has shared intel about Diana regarding her fashion likes and other secrets to these clowns, Meghan and Harry. Do you remember when Fergie went on Oprah back in the day and she was like talking badly about the royal family, where she was talking about how they weren't allowed to turn the lights on in the place and how it's it's not fun living in a palace because it's cold. Yeah, I don't, there's a lot of digging. I'm saying there's a lot of similarities between Harry and Meghan and Andrew and Fergie. And I feel like it's history repeating itself. And I feel like it's just like, I don't know. If you didn't do something the first time, why wouldn't you nip it in the ass the second time if it's happening? I know you tried to remind me, Katie. I know you did. I appreciate you. Traitors run in the family. Yeah, it's sad, right? I mean, a part of me wouldn't be surprised if William and Catherine took the children tomorrow and said, you know what, deuces, we want nothing to do with this. You guys can have it. We just want to go live a quiet life in the countryside as William and Catherine Wales. I would be all for it. I would be all for it because William shouldn't have to deal with all the headaches and nonsense and the two traitors that is Andrew and Harry, because you know they're going to come down on William pretty hard and he doesn't deserve that. But let's see what you guys are saying before I need to run. Zero drive in life. They have zero idea who they are. They're grounders. They are leeches. They were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, but at the end of the day, Andrew and Harry became overly coddled. That's the issue. Like, you don't see Edward behaving in this manner. You don't see William behaving in this manner. You don't see Anne behaving in this manner. But yet, Andrew and Harry, for some odd reason, think that they are owed the entire world. Yeah, I remember this, Lizbeth. The queen didn't want to waste heat and lights in the palace, but I expect that Meg's is no, this was when Fergie went on Oprah back, I think it was like 1994, that era. Fergie did a sit down after she released her own book, right? She did a sit down with Oprah where she did talk shit about the royal family, talk about how freezing it was. Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So the fact that Meghan and Harry are sitting down with Oprah is why I say it's Andrew and Fergie 2.0. I feel like it's just history repeating itself, but that's just my opinion there. But anyways, guys, I got to run here. Mommy duties calls. I got to go and take care of my gremlin. But my darlings, catch me in the next one and have a heads up for my videos because I am going to be releasing more short form videos on this topic. We need to talk about this because there's been a lot of corruption going on in the royal family. And as much as people don't want to address it, I don't mind addressing it. We got to sometimes talk about the hard stuff, and sometimes it needs to be discussed. Anyways, my darlings, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I appreciate you all. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you to the community. Thank you, Stephen, for all the emails and always keeping me updated with what is going on in the accounts department, my darlings. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for spending a few moments with me. Well, the last hour with me. I really appreciate it. And I will catch you all in the next one. Bye, darlings.